Hey everyone, it's DrRic, founder of Herbal 411, and I'm just announcing that I've come off of Lent. Lent is a time period between roughly the middle of February up until about this weekend. And it comes right before Easter, and it's part of Catholicism in preparation for the rising or the ascension of Christ. Now, you don't have to be a Catholic practitioner or a Christian, but I did have my fasting. I gave up eating before 4 o'clock from that time until now, and also went to church every day, also did some dedicated rosary and prayer. And it's a nice thing every year that we go through, and some people kind of just breeze through it and go Easter egg hunting. Others go deep into religious reflection and reset their lifestyle. But regardless, it's a fasting practice mostly, and I did do a previous video on fasting, which I'll try to post or put links to down below, but I think it's very important to do it every once in a while. Why? Because most of my patients that come to see me in their 30s, mid-30s, early 40s, they are starting to feel the effects of aging. Guys with erectile dysfunction, guys with weight gain, women with irregular periods or weight gain as well. Irregular periods can be painful or not, or maybe not even having periods. And there's always going to be that complication of mood, anxiety, depression that goes along with it, and frustration with work. So, with all that, I think we also overindulge. With overindulgence, it's meant to substitute for something that's missing. And on top of all that, your hormones will start to tank. Women more so than men. Hormones are supposed to be up and down. There's a constellation of different hormones, and the formula or the algorithm is you maintain your hormone status until you reach about midlife when you are expected to have a family started, and then they start to go downhill. Why? Because most people don't need families after they turn 50, 60. They let their kids go. You pass through grandparenting, and then you die. So that's about it. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next video. But honestly, the idea is before you get into your 50s and 60s, which is usually the time people get tired. They get tired of taking medicines because their doctors just give them medicines. They get 15-minute visits, and don't get me started on that, but that's reality, and you can't fight it. You know, those of you who know or have seen me in the clinic before, you know I try to spend as much time as possible. And I used to carve that out of my own wallet, because the more time I spend, the less that the clinic, the people I work for, get paid, and the less my salary goes. And I'll give that away just to get people healthy, but it hurts sometimes, and I have to honor, if I'm going to be an employee, honor what the expectations are, and most doctors in the U.S., every 15 minutes, you're kind of turning over. There are some doctors who don't do that, but realize this, even the ones that own their own practices, the more minutes that tick by after 15, the more they're going to be running behind, or the paycheck's going to be cut. I'm getting a little off track, sorry about that, but Lent, coming off of Lent, I'm kind of relaxing on all this crap that has to go. The politics of making people healthy has to be taken into consideration, but I did make fasting from mid-February until recently. And I lost a little bit of weight, but that wasn't the reason for fasting. The fasting can also be from electronics and social media. I didn't really do that because I'm trying to post. But when you get hungry, it sometimes hurts at first, but then it neutralizes your thoughts. At first, when you get rid of something, tobacco or alcohol, you get really anxious because you want that thing. You're missing dopamine. As I alluded to, some people, when they have pain, when they are missing stuff, when life is not fun anymore, they'll go for alternatives. Alternatives being alcohol, gambling, risky behavior, or tobacco or marijuana. Drugs. Smoking can be one too. They all give you a little dopamine high. And I think I did a video on getting a dopamine hit, mostly with meditation, but you don't have to do that. I suggest it. But the concept of what I wanted to teach you is how to take care of cravings. And I happen to be doing a conference coming up on cravings. if you're in the area, this will be on the 10th. That's Friday, 4 o'clock p.m., St. Joseph's Hospital, St. Luke's room. All are invited, but if you come late, you're going to have to stand in the back. And there's limited seats, so first come, first serve. As these get busier and busier, I'm going to take reservations. The people that are constantly coming and attending will be my inner circle. So the idea with trying to fast is to reset those dopamine hits that you are craving. And one objective, or one way to think about it, if you have any marijuana users, if you do marijuana in an off-balance way, meaning more THC, not enough CBD, you will get the munchies. And yes, the munchies are a side effect of cannabis. Usually it's too much THC. Cannabis is essentially THC, CBD, and when you have things balanced out, you just relax. You can actually reverse cancer, especially with the data from Israel. I think it can be used medicinally, and when it's not balanced properly, you get the munchies. When you get the munchies, you eat insatiably, and you continue eating like there's no end to it. That's a problem. And I'd put these things up here. These are CBD products. Liquid tinctures, sublingual sprays, and tablets. The idea, if you are a cancer patient and you're using medical cannabis and you're having the munchies, it's kind of good if you're going through cancer and chemotherapy and you can't eat. I had a pancreatic cancer patient who was having terrible wasting. And we tried to get him to take the right cannabis, but he couldn't even do that. He didn't want to smoke. It was a tough way to go. Sometimes when you have those side effects, you can do CBD, which helps to bring down the munchies. Having said all that, we don't have to talk about cannabis because it's not part of the whole concept of how to get rid of urges, craves, munchies, wanting to eat stuff. Like I have a patient who worked a 12-hour shift. He gets home, and his biggest thing he admitted to me was that he has to start eating, and he can't stop eating. I suggested to him semaglutide. This is an oral GLP-1. You all know about Ozempic or tirzepatide, Mounjaro. They're all injectables that you give once a week, and they mimic your GLP-1 hormone that's secreted from your gut. You're supposed to secrete it, but most of us that have craving issues or munchies or we eat at night out of bad habit, if you put a super physiologic amount of GLP-1, it will keep your stomach full because it slows it down. That's why you burp and have hiccups and you feel full, and your reflux sometimes gets worse. People that use these medicines get constipated because everything slows. When the stomach slows, even if you were to do the munchie thing or crave thing when you're watching Netflix when you get home, your stomach will be so full it's going to be nauseating, and it'll teach you to have a negative feedback on that habit that you're trying to break. So these are pretty good, but the problem is the price. This is an oral GLP-1 Rybelsus. They come in injectables, and I'll be talking about this in my conference, so please come, and I'm just going to briefly mention all this stuff now. And by the way, everything I'm talking about now is independent of my work with the hospital. These are just things that I teach my YouTube subscribers, so please consider subscribing. And if you don't have a doctor, you can get on my waiting list. It has a private practice concierge doctor. Otherwise, I have a clinic where I work for Prime Healthcare in Illinois, in Elgin. And I also educate with local communities. So you can use this medicine to slow the gastric emptying down, giving you a fullness kind of feeling. But it's not covered unless you're a true diabetic. And if you're not a diabetic, meaning hemoglobin A1C, that every 3-month glucose level above 6.5, they won't pay for it, and it'll cost like $1,000. There are some compounding pharmacies that can make it, and you don't have to you don't have to be a diabetic, but you have to pay the compounding pharmacy a certain price. And I haven't ordered from these compounding pharmacies. There's one in Florida I use, South Lake. There's one in Wakanda that I use, one in Indiana too, but it's tough to get it on a regular basis. So other options. Well, yeah, you can just take a whole bunch of fiber. I'm going to bring this to the conference. This is popcorn, obviously, and popcorn has a low glycemic index. It is filling, and this is my problem. If I'm at a movie and I get a large bucket of whatever and put that butter or that flavoring the theater calls butter on this, I will be able to finish off a large popcorn. And a large popcorn is not large, it's humongous. And I can go down to the bottom before the third act of the movie, and it's like, oh, I feel so guilty now. And then I'll have to eat something more. So there's proper ways to do this, and I'll talk about this with the dietitian that I'm going to be having the conference with. But there are ways to do it. If you can't afford the right medicines or those medicines, there are herbs that we can use, and I'll discuss that at the conference. There are also ways to fill up your gut, and I don't mean with taking a big bag of fiber, but protein. This is a protein that has been, I use it when I exercise, and I've done videos on protein. It's 1 gram per pound, which is really hard to maintain, but that's for optimization and when I bulk. You can also increase your fiber. I've done a video on this. This is my shot that I take in the morning. It's called psyllium husk. So psyllium husk by Organic India. I love this stuff, but so it gives fiber. The psyllium is a fibrous, insoluble fiber that you mix in water, 3 teaspoons, and you chug the glass down. I have another video. I'll put a link to that, I think. The protein, so the psyllium husk fills your stomach up, and it takes a while for the stomach to empty. So when the stomach is full of fiber, case in point this, or something like this is a pomelo, this thing takes forever to eat. And even though this is a fruit and it has fructose in it, the fiber and the fructose together make it so slow to digest that you don't spike your glucose. There's something called glucose excursions along the timeline. If you eat something and it bumps up, or it's high carbohydrate, it'll bump your glucose up. That's called a glucose excursion. You can have an excursion going from a baseline of like 70 to 120. And then within half hour, it'll go down. Over 2 hours, it's back to baseline. Some patients who are insulin resistant, well, as soon as they have a carbohydrate hit, it'll go way up because there's no insulin being made by your pancreas, or the cells in your body are resistant to knowing what insulin is. And if you attended my conference last week or last time, you would have known that the registered dietitian discussed the lock and key effect. Please consider coming. I'm not videotaping these things, but when you're insulin resistant, no lock and key come together, and you have insulin and you have glucose in the bloodstream, but it doesn't go anywhere, so it stays high, 200, 300, 400, and then it eventually goes down when it gets filtered by the kidneys, and the kidneys don't want to do that. And while it's in the bloodstream for a couple hours, you have all these chemical side effects that make your brain swell, make you feel lousy, make you feel like you're super hungry because all that sugar that you have is not going anywhere. It's locked in the bloodstream. So anyway, the idea would be you can use fiber. You can use fiber, natural. You can use protein. Protein signaling also takes a little bit of time before it digests. It slows down. Protein and fat slow down the speed at which the stomach empties. If the stomach empties, it'll push all that liquid food down into the small intestine and it'll get absorbed. If the stomach's working twice as hard to get, say, a tomahawk digested, it'll be in your gut for at least 4 hours, and your glucose excursion will just be a little bit. It won't go past 120. There's a guy, Louis Arona. Where is that book? Sorry, I don't know where it is. But Louis Arona came up with a lot of great information. Sorry, I don't know where it went. Anyway, the doctor out of New York who did a study on separating the macronutrients of the plate and doing your protein first, then your fat, then your carbohydrates last. And it usually kept the glucose excursions from going too high. Now, if you do that in front of your grandmother, she'll take a big spoon and hit you on the back of the head with it because you're not supposed to separate stuff. You're supposed to mix it all together. And the Mediterranean diet is the best diet, but there's arguments on what exactly is a Mediterranean diet. So even the low-carb people, that does work if you're insulin resistant for a short time. But after about a week to a month, your body will figure out ways around it, just like fasting. It'll work if you do intermittent fasting, what's Jason Fung had talked about as far as skipping breakfast or doing a 16-8. And if you don't know what those things are, please check my other video on fasting. And if you do that, it'll be great. You'll lose weight first, just like low carb. You'll lose weight for about the first month, but then your body, which is a miracle, will be able to figure things out. And if you haven't changed your habit as far as lifestyle, sleeping, sleep maxing, calming practice, exercise, then your body figures out a way to survive with the little bit of food that you're feeding it, and then you get fat with a little bit of food, and then you're super hungry, which is terrible. So you got to do this stuff correctly. And bottom line is, you can have cravings. There are things to do to cut the cravings. There are also things to do as far as cutting bad habits, but everybody has to have a personal approach to it. And everybody's personal approach has to be personally planned. And the idea would be, if you don't have a doctor that's listening, you're not going to be able to figure out the root cause problem. And if you don't know the root cause of how you got to this point, how are you going to fix it? So not everybody can just withdraw from food for 5 days and start exercising like a madman and sleep like a adolescent. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of reversal, but it takes time to get you and your doctor and your team to figure things out. That's why I love to do, although I only have 15 minutes to do it. But bottom line is that you are in charge. You don't have to go straight to medicines. I think medicines are helpful. Like I mentioned, this is a helpful medicine. There are other prescription medicines that are out there that can take care of things for the time being. And then maybe if you figure out your personal plan of lifestyle change and you implement them and you rework them and you implement again, you won't need the medications after a while. But if you can't get that, then you and your team, whether it's you and your doctor, or you, your doctor and the physical therapist, or you, your doctor, the physical therapist, the psychologist, the nutritionist, the acupuncturist, all that team, the bigger the team, the better the success. And the faster you get better, the faster you reverse disease. I've seen disease maintain itself and become stable. You know what happens usually? You age up. And when you age up, another disease comes up, and then you have to rework it. So you're never going to be, you can postpone it if you're busy enough and you supposedly can't afford it. You're just going to get older, and the disease is going to get worse, and it's going to be more expensive later. So own up to it now. It's not that easy. Get the good team that's hopefully going to give you the keys to reverse the disease and maybe be your translator of all this data that's out there. All this data is great. I love these books. I love the authors that are out there. I love the podcasters that are out there, but they have to be smart. Again, if you can measure it, you can fix it. If you can get the root cause, you can attack the root cause. So you're always in charge. So hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas. Come to my lecture. I'll figure out how to do these things by virtual means. But until then, St. Joseph's Hospital. And if you can't come, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll try to link these things, and I'll try to compose the lecture pieces as far as best questions and answers on my YouTube page. But thanks for watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section down below. Otherwise, I'll see you.